It's kind of calmed down. He was like, I was like, oh, hi.
You didn't look harried. See, this is the good news. She didn't look harried. She looked like you had everything under control.
That was a while ago, yeah. He introduced himself. I was like, oh, I hope you watched that.
Yeah, we teach little people.
Yeah.
Kindergarten teachers. So.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was the fun age.
It is.
Oh,
it's an
it's
adventure
fun.
every day.
My husband teaches 5th grade, and I say, give him the kindergartners any day.
That's about when they start to change, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But it's they're kind of parallel in some ways.
I imagine.
But
See,
they're really confused. It's a difficult age.
The 5th grade?
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of changes going on inside of them that they don't know how to deal with.
And neither do parents.
Neither, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I'd go to school lunch every either Monday or Tuesday, depending when I had to fly back here, or when I first got elected and my kids were in that school. So I'd go to lunch every Monday. And by the time my daughter got to 5th grade, everything was cool when it was 1st grade. That was really cool to have dad at lunch on Mondays. 2nd grade, still pretty cool. 3rd grade, yeah, it's still okay. 4th grade, started getting a little bit, I'm not sure this is good. I got the speech about you have to sit on the other side.
Yeah.
So I got that kind of was a bummer.
And then you had to sit in the
Well, and then the 5th grade was like, do you have to come to lunch? And if you do, please don't walk with me. I'm like, I got the zone speech. You got to keep your zone space. You can't no hand holding, no hugging on arrival. I got the whole checklist.
But at home, I'm sure it's
She was great. Yeah.
Daddy's little girl. Yeah. Well, I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm not sure how much time we have.
I have to be on the road at 11:45, so that's 35 minutes. That's fine.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I don't know how much you have seen about Life is a Zebra Foundation, but I'll start from the beginning of what we are. And Allie and I co-founded Life is a Zebra Foundation after going through our own medical mystery. We had our own experiences, and it became a passion of we need to do something about this. The big overarching theme for Life is a Zebra Foundation is invisible illness awareness. We don't look sick, yet day to day we're dealing with chronic illness, chronic pain, and by starting this foundation, it has reached out throughout the country. We hear back from zebras from all over about, whether it's fibromyalgia, lupus, Ehlers-Danlos, which is what I have, vasculitis. So there's some rare ones in there, but some not so rare diseases that it's kind of like an umbrella for all of them, and for support, for research, for awareness. The reason, we always get asked, what's the zebra have to do with it? And in medical school, students are taught, if you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. So the horses, they're looking for the common problems. They're looking for flu, or what a lot of people get. And so medical students are taught not to really go out of the box right away, where then Allie and I, in our experiences, I saw 23 doctors. I traveled all over the country until I received my 2 diagnoses, and we almost lost Allie in 2008 Christmas night after 50, how many days in the hospital?
I don't know, I lost count. 2 months in the hospital.
Wow.
In Maryland, and it was a biopsy that diagnosed her vasculitis. So the zebras are the hard to diagnose, out of the box sicknesses. So our biggest goal, what we did at the state level in May with Richardville, was we had a resolution that was passed unanimously for a Invisible Illness Awareness Week. And so what we would love to see happen is a day of action, an Invisible Illness Day of Action for the country. Something on a larger scale for the country like we did in Michigan. So that's coming here. That was one of our goals that we really would like to talk about, and see what you would have to say or advice.
Sure, well, you're doing it the right way, and you have somebody over there sitting there who knows how this whole thing works pretty well. So don't let him fool you. He knows how this thing works.
One of the thoughts about awareness, pointed out in the Senate resolution is that there's kind of multiple layers to this. There's the cost to the individuals. There's the cost to the medical community and the additional medical costs. Why does someone have to go to 23 doctors? And if you total up those medical costs, how much cost is everyone else paying through insurance? Obviously, for medical students who don't learn right, from day one, employers, you missed a year of work for this, and so there's that downtime and that cost too. And so the thought of awareness is, well, there's all these different diseases, and they all have their foundations. Life as a zebra is like Katie indicated, try to put everybody under one big tent and say, okay, if we all come together and look for the commonalities, and you can look for what are the real costs to society from all these different angles. And once you do that, after a couple of years of people coming together, hopefully there's a consensus built as to, okay, what do we do now? Is it something that takes legislation, at some point in the future that, Social Security would say, this is a disability, this is a problem, we need to address this. So we kind of realize that it's a process, and this is sort of, as I use the military term, like this is the beachfront. We're going out, we're starting this.
Right.
We're starting this.
Trying to get the ball rolling and get this out there.
And the biggest piece of advice I give you: be patient. This is a big place, and it's like a big battleship. You don't turn it right away. It takes some time. You may have to come back again. You may have to keep talking to members, write letters, get to know the staff who handles healthcare issues. And it is a process of continuing to talk to them, to have your voice heard. But this is, I think, an important first step. Very important.
Great.
We're also particularly interested in seeing is what your potential future career might be in terms of awareness. And if you find yourself
In a position to talk
for
about it.
ideas to
Yeah, we would
fill.
love to.
Yeah,
Come
interesting.
on.
Well, you never know. So doing a lot of commentary next year, so that's we hope to use that as an opportunity to talk about issues that are important.
Yeah.
So
Well, we're available. You just let us know.
Yeah, really? You'd be able to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Are you,
Yes.
you're shy, but you're getting over it? No, that's great. And I'm glad that and it helps to have people who have experienced it, the 23 doctors. So my view of the world came from my brother, who had he had 30-some back surgeries and is disabled as a result, and went through the whole process of trying to find doctors who could treat chronic pain and still allow them to function. Right? They either want to give you enough to put you out for 24 hours a day, or they don't want to give you any. And he had a hard time functioning. So I can't tell you how many doctors he went through. So here are 23 doctors.
Yeah.
I'd like to say it surprised me, but unfortunately it doesn't.
Well, and that's like the different levels of awareness, like awareness for the country as a whole, but also for medical professionals. Because for what I have, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and dysautonomia, I've been told over and over by doctors, that's a line in our textbook and we move past it. And there's so many people who are misdiagnosed with it or are living with it and don't even know because they can't get the correct diagnosis. And so there's that level too on the healthcare and therapists and nurses and just living the life, and seeing it every day and hearing from zebras through our foundation. It's really obvious that it's something that, to me and to Allie and to all of us, it's a passion that it needs to be taken seriously. I mean, the invisible piece again is I have a handicap sticker. I date bad days. I need it. I get notes on my car. I don't look like I need it. I'm a fraud, and it's the don't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
You don't know what people are going through, and so that is one of our biggest messages through this foundation too. We start young with our kids. We do Zebra Day, and everybody gets all with their zebra gear, and then we have the message of compassion and empathy, and so we believe in starting young too.
That's great.
So,
And what is the treatment regimen? Do you have a regular treatment regimen?
Tell about the shots.
for my Ehlers-Danlos,
This always gets the kids.
well, I do prolotherapy, which is it's looked at by insurance as experimental, but actually it's a pain treatment that's been around the longest. So what it is I get about 160 shots every month. They start from my neck and go to my hips. And what it does is it increases inflammation and starts the healing process, so then it can lay down new tissue and get blood to that area. The problem with Ehlers-Danlos is you're like basically too stretchy. There's a defect in your collagen, and so things aren't stable. So for a year I was in a wheelchair and a neck brace and a back brace, and that was the year I took off of teaching, and that was the year they had no idea what was wrong. I mean, I was tested over and over again for MS and lupus and more of the common problems, the horse, and then finally it was a doctor in Fort Wayne that said, I think I need to send you to a geneticist. You have the different features, like just even epicanthal folds in my eyes. For some reason, he knew to look for that, like just little things. And then I was sent to a geneticist, and they did the testing, and I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos. And then dysautonomia is a disease of your autonomic nervous system that comes with Ehlers-Danlos because your blood vessels are too stretchy as well. So when you stand up, they don't squeeze like yours do and pump the blood to your head, like to your brain and where it needs to go. So everything is too stretchy. So the shots are to like help stabilize and tighten everything. So that's one thing they do.
Is in the shots, is that steroid? Or is what is this? What is it?
It's just lidocaine and sugar water, and they go through each tendon, each ligament, all the way down through the spine, and it basically they're injuring you so that the
healing process,
the healing can start, and then the new tissue can lay down, so then things can tighten up. It was either that or.
And how long does that take, may I ask?
2 hours.
Oh, I bet that feels fantastic.
Yeah, I have to go to Indiana for it, so the ride home is usually pretty rough. But I go on a Friday, I take Friday off from teaching, and I'm back teaching Monday. So.
Oh, that's great.
But then I have physical therapy every week, and I have so far been able to stay off narcotics with the different kinds of treatments I'm trying. That's my goal.
Yeah. That's
So
a tough
again-
road once you get there.
And again, that's a problem also because it's not recognized
Right.
by insurance companies. They don't want to. One of the zebras had written us and was speaking about her wrist. I can't remember what she has. What did she have?
Rheumatoid
Oh, she had rheumatoid
arthritis.
arthritis. And having her wrist adjusted, her insurance wouldn't cover it. They just wanted her to take the narcotics. But having her wrist adjusted, which cost $55, would give her like a month free from pain or whatnot. However, the insurance wanted her to take the narcotics, which only cost her $10. She didn't want to take the drugs. She has to be functioning for her family, so it's,
Right.
she still has to feed her family. So where does she invest that money
Yes.
so that she can be a functioning parent as well as member of society, really? I mean,
Yeah.
and your brother, I mean, who knows? He could have had an invisible illness that was never diagnosed. I mean, in a case like that, I don't know, maybe he was in an accident or something, but I mean,
Right.
there are people that suffer from chronic illness and pain. They have no idea, and they just suffer.
Well, in our research, it's 1 in 2 Americans
Wow.
that have the chronic problem, and a majority are invisible.
Mhm.
And with that comes more issues like with the job and accommodations and having to really learn how to advocate for yourself because you're your own advocate. And sometimes it's really hard to be taken seriously, that you do need, an assistant in your classroom.
Mm.
It's not, I don't think, conscious at all discrimination. It's just not knowing.
Right.
And
they don't see anything wrong.
and they don't
That's
say,
right.
they look at you and they don't see anything wrong and make those judgments. And it's a fight sometimes. I had that this school year of needing accommodations, and it took a few months and we finally got there, and it shouldn't be like that.
Right.
If you have these medical diagnoses and the doctors are saying this is what the patient needs.
So, yeah, one of the issues then is just for uniformity. The thought is if it's deemed a disability here, it should be deemed a disability everywhere, so that every American, if they have a condition, it's a disability, it's across the board. And so there's that sort of a patchwork sort of mentality towards these illnesses. But you had a good analogy, and I've always used military analogies too.
Yeah.
When we did this, and as they were saying in Michigan, the resolution, which is just to kind of put a flag in the ground and say, look, folks, this is a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Get the different groups together, and groups like, Rheumatoid Arthritis and Lupus Foundation, whatever, that they would say, hey, we want to be a part of that too. I guess it's easy to do at the state level because we have it. Although technically this was on the consent calendar, they wanted to read it on the Senate floor, and it got co-sponsored by everybody, because the terminology that I used was this is low-hanging fruit. This is something that everybody can kind of get behind.
And if I can jump in, everybody knows somebody. That was
Right.
our theme.
Right. And I think people saw something in it, and it's like exactly that. Whether it's a brother or a cousin, everybody can identify with it. What's the timing in terms of at this level in trying to get that kind of a resolution introduced and then ultimately passed by one house or the other?
Yeah, so we have July, and then we'll go into all the, as you remember, they call it the cats and dogs of legislation. So all of the things that got pushed off to the very last portion of the of the session. And so that's probably going to happen between now and the end of the year. I would guess your best option would be to get it introduced in January of next year. Keep working to find a member that says, yeah, I'll do that resolution in January. Then you have something to work with the whole 2-year session.
Great.
If you do it now, I guarantee it won't go anywhere this year. That's just the practical matter of where we are.
Okay.
So it's not going to happen this year. It doesn't mean you shouldn't continue to do it. And then find that member that says, yep, and I'd be interested in doing it, except I won't be here.
I know.
So,
but you're doing other things.
yes, I'm doing other things. That's right. I will also be advocate.
Don't forget us zebras.
That's exactly right. Well, how can I do that?
Maybe your
That would be-
successor or someone else.
Well, that's very well true, and what we'll do too is you ought to and spend some time getting to know, the whoever their legislative director is right away, so that you can start working this process early. That would be my goal. So I'd spend between now and the end of this year finding that next person who's going to say, yeah, I'll introduce that, and I'll introduce it in January, and then continue to work it. And then you can work through, Fred Upton is going to be the Energy and Commerce, likely to have a healthcare component to it, would be the right guy. Trying to think, Tim Wahlberg would be a good one to sit down and talk to too.
Yeah.
He's trying to get on Energy and Commerce. Oh, good.
Yeah.
We hope he gets on Energy and
Great.
Commerce Committee next year, which would be perfect. So that's a good one to hit and start working early.
That's
That
very
would,
helpful.
yeah, I hope so. And not being bashful about telling your story, which is really important. It's hard to talk about, I'm sure, but it's helpful.
Well, and it's not to our whole foundation. We also want to be inspirational, but we also want to be real.
Right.
And a week ago, our cousin actually just passed away from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome because it is genetic, and so it just took on a whole new level of passion for us because she was working in DC in a law firm. She went to bed one night, and it was what's his name, John Ritter, the mitral valve prolapse, because EDS can cause the too stretchy heart of the heart.
So it can't contract as well, yeah.
And that was it. She's 23.
Oh.
Her and I, a year ago, we were, she came to our big Life is a Zebra benefit that we do every year in April. You should come. Kellogg Center.
Where is it, Kellogg Center?
Yeah, and so it's that, and the thing is, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome is not even looked at. It's not even recognized as a disability. Yet she just passed away at 23. It's fine, not fine, but had pain and things, but was living her life, and that's it.
She didn't look sick.
And she looked complete. I have a
Isn't it?
we brought you materials too.
Great.
This is our one page while I look for it. This was a resolution that we had. And then this is just kind of things that we've been doing. Our business card. We brought you a bumper sticker and a t-shirt. We have a t-shirt over there.
It's in the bag
Hey,
next.
so who did all your design work? Who did your design work?
Live Love Michigan is doing it right now.
That's great.
It's in my zebra folder.
Katie? And the t-shirts are in my bag.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so our whole thing is zebras make cupcakes too. That's like our slogan. And so we brought you a zebras make cupcakes too t-shirt.
That's great.
That was our benefit. We had Chris Trapper, a singer-songwriter from Boston, and Tony Luca, he was on The Voice.
That's
They
great.
came and did the concert, and before the concert we have the gala, the silent auction, and the food and all of that. So it's a fun night. April 11th, 2015.
Tickets on sale now.
So this is
Tickets
Karen.
on sale now.
Yeah.
That's great. Raise $27,000.
Mhm.
That's a very good event.
Mhm.
That's great.
We're not settling with that though.
No, that's great. No, that's above.
Like
Like I said, you're a new organization.
Yeah, she just a week ago, and that's it's just crazy. So
Mm.
we're doing this for Carolyn too.
Yeah. That's
But here is her shirt, and
Alright.
then the back is our Zebra Nation.
that's great. That's a really cool T-shirt. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's gonna be slogging around the neighborhood in this. That's good.
You can come to school for Zebra Day and wear it with the kids.
Wear the T-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
When is Zebra Day, by the way?
In May,
May?
Yeah.
End of May.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Will you be then back in Michigan then? Or will you
I'll still have my place back in Michigan, but we'll be spending time here. The studio will be here. So,
Oh,
yeah.
congratulations.
Well, thank you.
We're loving
That's
DC. It's
exciting.
beautiful.
You know, it's a great city.
It's
I
beautiful.
can't tell you I love the humidity. But
Yeah.
It's good for the
It's-
hair.
is it? Yeah.
I don't know.
Now
You wouldn't have a curl left. but-
Yeah.
I had a difficult morning because of that, but I was
Yeah.
able to
Well, you know what? That's just God making more room for a pretty face.
So mom says, you must be like that.
So do you mind doing pictures?
No, not at all. Absolutely honored to do
Okay,
it.
great. Anything else I forgot or anything?
You guys are doing well. What do you want to? What do you want to do with the money? So let's say you raise $100,000. What are you going to do with it?
That's a good question. Right now, we are partnering with, so far we've partnered with EDS Network Cares,
Mhm.
the National Dysautonomia Research Foundation, Vasculitis Foundation, and we have funded different research projects through them. We would like to start our own research projects and maybe seed money for doctors who are starting, different research projects for various invisible illnesses. We want to broaden also our scope, not just EDS, dysautonomia, vasculitis, because we, like I said, we want to become that umbrella for all invisible illnesses. So one thing that we have talked about is also money for healthcare education. We've started researching the medical school curriculums and how much of this is addressed in medical school curriculum, and how we could maybe fund or change the look of that, even if it's more like a half a day or
Or half hours of
right,
something.
I'm sure they don't
too.
get much of it either.
No.
yeah.
Right.
Well, they don't
Seems
get
like
much.
there would be one of the courses that they had to take during that
Mhm.
extensive amount of time they spent in med school that was focused on those invisible illnesses, the things that
Well,
you never hear
just to
about.
give you an idea, it took us, because I worked from the day I got here, it took me probably close to 10 years
Wow.
to get a pain management,
Incredible.
emphasis on education curriculum, and we ended up doing it through Veterans Affairs,
Okay.
trying to deal with the soldiers who would have phantom pains in their legs
Mhm.
that were
Mhm.
gone,
Yes.
and the
Right.
pain that they go through in their recovery.
Right.
And sometimes you have to find the vehicle that works.
Yeah.
But that helps everybody. But it was focused on
Right.
originally, hey, these guys are coming back. They're in pretty bad shape. They're going to have a lot of chronic pain issues.
Finding the angle.
that
Right.
works.
Well, and that's something else
Definitely.
you didn't address is the mental drain and strain that it puts on
Right.
people with invisible illness, and many of them
There's-
suffer from.
Allie and I both, many times, and I know we speak for many in our country, we were handed, because of, again, the invisible piece, just depression scales. It's in your
Oh,
head. It's
yeah.
you're crazy.
And I'm sure doctors tell you that about 14 times a day.
Yeah, right. And there's so many different symptoms with a lot of these that if they're not an expert on it, it's hard to figure out how all the symptoms get put together.
Yeah.
And so here's your depression scale, the smiley faces, and
Right.
that, like, yeah, I am depressed, but it's because I'm
You're
sick
not
and I'm
functioning
not
well.
getting
Yeah.
answers and I'm not able to work, and so.
And I'm finishing up my occupational therapy degree. And from a rehab standpoint, I'd like to see greater awareness in the rehab community, because right now we're talking about the med school curriculum, but also as far as rehab therapists go. I mean, when you have pain, you're often referred to pain medication or pain clinic.
Mhm.
But from a rehab standpoint, there are so many wonderful things that physical and occupational therapists can do to address someone's disability. And I'd like to work with the rehab side of the medical field to raise that awareness. Katie has physical therapy every week and it does wonders for her, but she has to advocate for continued services because it's not a recognized disability. So by getting these things as recognized disabilities, we'd be able to give more rehab to people who could benefit from it and reduce pain costs, pain medication costs,
Definitely.
referrals to doctors, all those great things
Yeah.
for rehab.
Well, I'm sure your brother, taking all of those narcotics, prescribed or not, it affects your quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no,
You know,
it's the way he hasn't worked in 20-some years.
Yeah,
He's in pretty bad shape. Though.
yeah.
But that's what we find when we start talking about, the foundation as a whole. It's like everybody has a story about someone that they know, whether it's sister or themselves, or I have lupus, and I don't normally tell people because it's so hard for people to understand. So again, like also a source of support
Yeah.
as well, and understanding.
One of the Zebras had written in and said that, she was having a hard time obtaining a job because on the online application, before you ever meet a person, it asks, are you able to stand for 8 hours? There were questions like that. And she's like, well, on most days I can, but there are some days where I might have to sit for a little bit. On a stool is fine, but, she couldn't say that to a yes or no question, so.
Because a lot have gone to online, it's not face to face anymore.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
it's very black and white. Yeah.
Mhm.
But we see our zebra as all different colors because it encompasses so many different illnesses.
And nobody's really totaling things up under one umbrella and saying, here are the total costs to individuals, to society, to our gross national product. That's just not being done.
The research just isn't
Nobody's
there.
doing that. So I think that's where, it'll take time, but I think that's where.
and this
we
you're
need-
doing exactly right.
Right.
Just don't get discouraged. And if you come back the next time and no member is available, but you say, well, here's my staff person that does X, take staff person that does X, because they'll play an important role in developing the resolution, and they meet with me regularly, and we talk about all the things that happen. So don't take that as nobody's paying attention. That's also another one. A lot of people think, well, if I can't talk to the member, it's all over. No, that's not true here.
But we have 6 meetings and I think 2 are with staff. So we took
Well,
those
you're doing better than average. You're doing better than average. Yeah, exactly. No, it is important. And listen, they'll have, just because they're staffers, they'll have a tremendous amount of impact on what happens.
I bet.
Yeah. And that's how a member keeps track, because otherwise you could never do anything, right? You'd be in meetings all day. So you need them to keep doing multiple things all at the same time. So don't get discouraged by that.
Okay.
And then you can just beat them up a little more.
Okay.
Let's see, you want to get some pictures?
Yeah. This has been great.
And this thing does take pictures.
Oh, okay.